Hello to all my friends out there. Hi, you guys. Well, hi. I hope everyone is doing okay. I thought you guys might like to see my luxury items. They're Decepticons. Have you ever known any of those irritating people who are just so happy all the time? They're just so irritating? Well, that's me. I never wake up in a bad mood. Never. No matter. And this is the crazy part. No matter how bad stuff is, I'm still in a good mood. I can't help it. Okay. When extreme frugality won't work. Like when? Like during a depression. That is when. We're looking for economic decline, high unemployment, a sharp drop in the GDP, sharp drop in consumer confidence, high business closures, a drop in credit. You know, I'm so glad I did the Dave Ramsey. I paid my credit down and I got some more credit. Okay, foreclosures of loans every repost. So when we see this stuff starting to happen, why won't extreme frugality work? Well, extreme frugality won't work when you don't have any money. You can be as frugal as you want. When there's no food, you can't be frugal when there's no food. When there's a disaster, like you're wiped out, like say everything in my house was wiped out. This is why, to me, it didn't make any sense to save the emergency fund and you know, pay down your credit, because then you don't have money or credit. And in my mind, the most important thing, okay, if I'm wiped out, that is okay. I got my best friends, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and war. A war comes, I don't care how frugal you are, just praying to God you don't get killed. Or if like there's an earthquake, or if there's a flood, you know, okay, or if there's a fire. Okay, so now what we want to do is store food. So you might be going, Rhoda, this is getting old. This is going to help more than anything else. So what I want to do is go to basic food storage. So what we're going to do is buy big bags of this particular food. The first one is beans. So to me, I would rather eat green split peas than any other bean. I don't know if these are beans. And the other one is baby lima beans. And sometimes I cannot find these. So I saw they had them at Walmart, and I said, I'm going to buy both of these. And I want to give you my husband's, Aunt Nancy's lima beans. Check beans for rocks. That was a big thing. And my mother, they were from Kansas. Just spread them out on a cookie sheet, check for rocks. So these are my vital recipes for what we're doing is we're preparing for a time we might not have cash. Like a currency collapse, you know, like a grid down. You go to the ATM, that is fine. The ATM is not working. Now what? You go to the store, oh, that is fine. The store is not open. All right, check the beans for rocks, wash good in water. Okay, I always wash my stuff in salt, but I started adding a tablespoon of vinegar if you have it. And the stuff gets so much cleaner. Cover with water and soak overnight. If they're little ones, these little ones, and if most of the time vegetarians go for the lima beans. Okay, lima beans, baby is best, no need to soak. Okay, or you can do the speed method. You boil them You cover them for an hour and you rinse them. And then you start making your beans. Okay, all you need is ham steak or ham or bacon. With these two beans, you have bacon. You saw me, I stock up on bacon. Onion, garlic, salt, pepper. It can be bacon, sausage, or ham. You just cook it down. Cook until the beans are done. They're soft. Add 1 pat of butter. So yesterday I made butter. I showed you. And then you need evaporated milk. For a whole package, you use the whole can. But I usually make about 1 to 1.5 cups. And so if it looks like I have about 2 cups of water, I would add 2 cups of evaporated milk. Then you make cornbread with butter and honey. On the side, you have tomatoes and green onions. The tomatoes and green onions was my side. That was almost any meal, but I included. Now I want to give you take a screenshot of these recipes, you guys. All right, the next one is the cornbread. Oh, I wrote it here. All right, now for cornmeal, okay, what I did is I started buying better cornmeal, the most expensive one I could find, in case you have to eat beans and cornbread. Okay, this is Julia Child's cornbread. 1 to 2 eggs. If you don't have it, you can use water, a 1/4 cup. 1 cup milk. Sometimes I use buttermilk. 2 cups cornmeal, or 1 cup cornmeal, 1 cup flour. That's what I usually do. 2 to 4 tablespoons melted butter. If you don't have it, you're going to use Crisco or lard. And 1 tablespoon baking powder. 425 for 30 minutes. Here's the good. It took me a long time to find one to my liking. And then on cornbread, just make sure you don't over bake it. So, okay, you have your beans and you have your cornbread. All right, back to this other page. So, beans, rice. So, you can buy a lot, like big bags, which I probably will. So you have beans, rice, cornbread, and with your beans you have bacon. 1 pound, one of these bags is 12 servings. Okay, and if you serve rice on the bottom, that makes it more. Okay, now, cornbread, bread, and biscuits. So let me give you my biscuit recipe. So if you make cheese, you're going to have whey. If you use whey in your bread, it's going to taste really good. And so I have in my kitchen here somewhere, I'm going to be using this up. This is a honey I bought at some point. And cornbread is, bread and cornbread is a good way to use up your honey. So I use, if I'm going to use whey, I use a half a cup of water, and then I put a tablespoon of honey or sugar. I heat it, I cool it to a warm bath. I put a package of yeast. I don't know what I did with it. And I let the yeast activate. I always activate the yeast on the side. So all you need is 1 1/4 cups of water. And so you take half a cup out to activate your yeast. 2 tablespoons butter, usually melted or Crisco, or olive oil, or anything, any fat. 2 tablespoons sugar, 3/4 teaspoon salt, 1 package of yeast or 1.5 teaspoons, and 1 tablespoon of flour, to roll it out on, or you can put oil and knead your bread that way. So it took me a long, I haven't had this recipe long. Then just knead it 1 time, let it rise, and and then bake it 350. Okay, I am going to be adding a 1/4 cup of good wheat flour from now on to get myself used to eating it, because it's more nutritious if you don't have. Okay, so cornbread, bread, and biscuits. Fat, I'm going to be just storing Crisco garden supply so you can grow vegetables. And when you do, you're going to realize how few vegetables grow out of 1 or 2 plants. I'm going to be dehydrating fruit. Okay, today I went to Ralph's and I bought 4 apples. I'm going to be dehydrating those for $1. And then I bought 3 kiwis, 4 of these nectarines, and one nectarine wasn't too hot. So I bought 2 of these for $1 of fruit. So I'm going to be cooking the fruit down or dehydrating the fruit. I'm going to be getting into the habit of doing that now. Okay, now, so think about now a year. So these basic foods are not too expensive if you're going for a year. Nuts, so you can make nut butter, and seeds, because you need some nuts and some fish. Lima beans, peas, navy, and chili, small chili beans. Cans are not good for the long haul. You know, if you have 1 can, you eat it, and then you don't have any food for next week, next month, 6 months. Dairy for 1 year, powdered milk. And then you've seen eggs. Eggs are getting crazy expensive. Now think about these vegetables: potatoes, onions, carrots, celery, corn, and squash. The Mexican garden is onions, tomatoes, peppers, and squash. And I have grown all of those. My tomatoes were doing good until I got the brilliant idea to transplant them. So I'm not doing that from now on. Okay, so think about soup. The ones that are from back when, that's going to cause you not to starve, are curry, vegetable, minestrone, and then pasta is macaroni and cheese and spaghetti. Now, stews, any meat. The most popular being beef stew. Corn chowder, clam chowder, and oyster stew. So for those corn chowder, oyster, you make potato salad and you just add a can of the clams or so. That's easy enough. All right, so now think about, we need canning jars and pickling spice. So we can make pickles to preserve either zucchinis, so you'll have some green vegetables, or some cucumbers, any kind, and they're easy to grow too. So that's the pickles. Now what? So the pickling spice, the vinegar, salt, coarse. So I will be buying big bags. This is not something, even though you're not using this much, it's going to be very bad if you run out. I'm going to buy the small, coarse, and the large. And then you need sugar for jam making. All right, now you can make coconut oil, avocado oil, lard, beef, chicken, and bacon fat for your beans. If things start getting really bad, you want to save your fat. And you're going to be thinking, how can I maybe find some acorns or some pine nuts? I found pine cones. That wasn't real successful. Okay, I told you the story about the young girl who moved to Mexico. She's not young now, she's old, she's my age. She went to Mexico because they moved to a polygamy compound, and when they got down there, things were very, very bad. That's why I kind of feel sorry for the immigrants, but when they're in such large numbers, it's like an invasion. she goes down there. They almost starve. Her husband came up here. He left her and the little girl down there. I think that was a very bad strategy. One day, an old man came up to her. He gave her a bag of beans, a bag of rice, and he told her to plant a garden. You have to get the seeds out of your food, but he did not give her, as far as the story goes, any lard or cornmeal. So you want to stock up that for a year. Okay, so now with the bread, you need enough for a year of wheat flour, the good stuff, fat, sugar, salt, and yeast. And then ditto for cornbread here. So you might think this is redundant. I'm sick of it. I don't want to hear it. Get these recipes because good luck finding this in a month, in 2 months, in a year, because you won't find it. I think some of the videos are removed, especially when they don't do that well. Right now, times are relatively good and you can go to a food pantry. So, a recession is when your neighbor loses his job. A depression is when you lose your job. Okay? Now, I want to give you these recipes. They might not be in any particular order. This is the Irish soda bread. I'm just going to give you a shot of the recipe. Take a screenshot. In case you don't have any yeast, like the pandemic. If something happens, I did buy a lot of yeast, but if you keep yeast in your freezer, it should last. All right, let me give you, oh, that's a great recipe. Here is a dumpling recipe. This is a very important old-fashioned recipe. You can make biscuits and cut them in 4 pieces and use them just like dumplings too. Like if you make a chicken pie, you can top it with dumplings. All right. Okay, no, let's see. Here is my chili recipe. 1 tablespoon vegetable oil, a medium onion. This one turns out and tastes good. A bell pepper, a pound of ground beef, a can of tomatoes, 3/4 teaspoon salt, 1.5 teaspoons chili powder. I mean, what if you don't have the packages? 1/2 teaspoon ground cumin. So you want to stock up on these spices. An 1/8 teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of oregano. In most Mexican recipes, they add oregano to everything. A large can of kidney beans, 2 green onions sliced, sour cream, and grated cheese. The last 3 are optional. Also, you can make this vegetarian if you want to. You can use black beans. That's really good. There's my chili recipe for you guys. Now, I already gave you. Now I want to give you the pasta recipe. This dough is really hard to roll out, but you have to buck it up. This is a very important recipe. The bad thing is this recipe takes eggs. So if you're living somewhere and things get really, really drastic, you might want to move somewhere where you can have some chickens and a garden. The dough is really stiff, so I cut it in 4 pieces, and you roll them out thin, and you slice them, and then you toss them around in some flour and let them dry out. That's the old-fashioned way. All right, now I want to give you the coleslaw and the macaroni and cheese. So if you make your potato salad and your macaroni the same, you're always going to have these 3. And these are really going to help you. Now you can make big batches, and this is your food. You can put lunch meat in the potato or macaroni salad. You can put beans. You can drain a can of mixed vegetables. That's good. That's Feature Man's coleslaw. That is a good recipe. All right, now I finally found a sauerkraut recipe, and I'll be making this. 1 medium cabbage cored and shredded, 1 tablespoon caraway seeds, 1 tablespoon sea salt, and 4 tablespoons whey. And so I have been making whey a number of times. You just make your cheese. It's going to generate whey, and you're going to use that in your bread and in your sauerkraut. In a bowl, mix the cabbage with caraway seeds, sea salt, and whey. Pound with a wooden mallet or a meat hammer for 10 minutes to release juices. Place in a quart-sized wide-mouthed mason jar and press down firmly with a pounder or meat hammer until juices come to the top of the cabbage. The top of the cabbage should be at least 1 inch below the top of the jar. Cover tightly and keep at room temperature for 3 days before transferring to cold storage. The sauerkraut may be eaten immediately, improves with age. This is one of those books, and I said, what are you, crazy? Why do you want to sell your cookbooks? That's not smart. Look at this thing. This is a $27 cookbook in pristine condition. Is this a vegetarian cookbook? I'm looking into that because we might get issues with the meat, with the eggs. You know, hopefully not with the hogs, because you know when times are really bad, if you have pork with your beans. Okay, now I'm going to give you the. Now this is an old-fashioned recipe. You can just fry these donuts in. Now you have to make these a few times until you get the hang of it. You might think, who cares? Today they were marked down at Ralph's. What if you can't have any donuts for a long time? Okay, now I save one of my best recipes for last. No, here's my beans. This is my best recipe. Get this recipe. Bush's baked beans are probably the best. If you want to be, you know, eating really good baked beans. Every once in a while, I try to get my recipes out there. One day, my dad died. If I died by you guys, you never know. Okay, these are my jam thumbprint cookies. Okay, this is my other. This is one of those recipes. Do yourself a favor and get these. If you have to make your own cookies, get this recipe. First of all, you can't really buy cookies this good. You have to make them. It doesn't make very many cookies. It makes about 12 to 16. If I ever do the cookbook, this will be in there. All right. Now, I thought I'd let you guys see my flower arrangements. What I decided to do, and this was so hard to do, it kept falling apart, it still is instead of trying to store my flowers, I just made a big giant arrangement. All right. So there was also perpetual soup, which they just kept the soup on the fire and kept throwing stuff in. I don't know about that. I think one of the best things maybe is beef stew. I'm going to be making some beef stew. Also, if you're making vegetable curry, if you roast your vegetables, I'll be making some. You roast your vegetables, you know, like carrots, like onions, like potatoes, like celery, and you cut them in pretty big chunks, and you roast them in the oven with no cover, and you have either vegetable stock or curry stock. I think maybe I can find it. What I do is I try to find these in every possible flavor. What is this? Well, you can use chicken too. Any of these would be good. You can add the curry. Some people fry the vegetables in oil and add, but I think roasting is better. I have beef. If you want to make beef curry, that's good. Oh, here we go. I have cubes, but you can use powder. Look at this. They added beans to the yellow rice. Some of us are just moving away from meat, you know, just to be extra safe. I think a varied diet, and I have all these good vegetarian cookbooks, so anyway, so, okay, so there's vegetable curry soup, there's vegetable soup, and then there's minestrone. I don't really care for the canned minestrone, but I'm going to be learning. That's an old ancient. Okay, I had lots of food, so I bought this this soup for $1.49, so I will have that. Here is my homemade cheese. This is 2 cups, so if I want to eat the whole thing in one day, that is okay. I have some of this peanut butter stuff that is chocolate, and it's cream with milk and cocoa. And I have some crackers. I could have some lunch meat. I can make some tuna too. Okay, so I took for this week out of the stockpile. I'm taking the food out of the stockpile and I'm putting it in the cupboard. So I took these 2 out. And then I want to mention canned food for the stockpile. It would be sweet potatoes, but I have this sweet potato pie mix, so I want to use this week. I have green beans. I have peas. I have corn. So this is just a really good assortment for your stockpile, and beets. What you can do is you can buy a case and you can buy an assortment. Now when you make your curry stew or soup, at the end you pour some coconut milk in it. You can make coconut milk easily. You can make coconut fat by making coconut milk, and then when you refrigerate it, the fat is on top. Okay. And I'll be dehydrating the fruit. If you can't, figs are horribly expensive and hard to find, but if you get fig Newtons or fig jam, I'll be buying an assortment of dry fruit at some point. But the main thing for today was a bag of baby limas, a bag of split peas, and then I bought 2 cans of evaporated milk. Not spending too much money, but spending a little money each week. Okay, so I want to tell you guys how to make self-rising cornmeal. 1 tablespoon baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon salt, 3/4 cups cornmeal, plus 3 tablespoons cornmeal. In case you need self-rising cornmeal. You can also make self-rising flour. Okay, and then, you know, good biscuits. Another thing is chicken pies or any kind of pies. And on those pies, you can put biscuits on the top or mashed potatoes. The frozen food, the pies are expensive, but they're not expensive to make. You just use leftover chicken, some vegetables. Let's see, do I have one? Yeah, like if you drain one. So chicken, vegetables, and gravy. You can buy it. The gravy and pie crusts. Those are cheaper than those cheap pies and much better. For the chicken pies, $3.75, 30 to 45 minutes. When you have no meat, you want to rely on nuts, seeds, eggs, dairy, and fat, which is easier said than done. When you go to a food pantry out here, do you get nuts, seeds? Sometimes you get eggs. You sometimes get like some milk, and sometimes they give you oil. So that's awesome. Okay, now, and then coffee and tea. I don't know why people don't view these tariffs and these sanctions as somewhat alarming. Wars start over those. Remember the Boston Tea Party? They didn't want to pay for the French and Indian War. Okay, and they wanted to get away from the British. All right, so extreme frugality won't work if it's the depression. It's not if there's going to be a depression, it's when there's going to be a depression. It's not if there's going to be a war, it's when there's going to be a war. In the end of times, one loaf of bread will cost a day's wage. So you can get one loaf of wheat bread or 3 loaves of barley bread. But you can mix your flour, your nut flours, your oatmeal, your cornmeal to stretch your budget. All right, so now think about cereal like oatmeal and pickle food that you can make yourself. Okay. And then another productive thing to do is look and see what they did a long time ago. Not practical, really. What's better is to kind of evolve as of now. So like 100 pounds of flour, 50 pounds or 20 pounds of cornmeal, big tubs of baking soda and baking powder, salt, vinegar, stuff like that. Think about the olden days when they went to market once a year and they came home with the wagon full of food. That was for the whole year. And then the rest of the stuff they grew. So we're going to be doing some more of that. I just wanted to get my vital recipes out there. Bye, you guys. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And God bless you. Oh, I wanted to show you something. You know they're saying luxury is dead. These are Louis Vuitton dupes. Not even great dupes, but, you know. And then this is not a Walmart purse. I had this lovely before the Walmart purses. It is a dupe. Bye, you guys. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And God bless you all. Bye-bye.